2 years had passed since the Cathrax first descended upon Terra, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Cathrax dominion, once feared across 17 systems, had collapsed their hunting fleets, scattered their warriors, broken their reputation as apex predators shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive prey. High Huntmaster Krazoth sat in a detention facility on a world he had once planned to conquer. The facility was clean, well-maintained, and staffed by beings who treated prisoners with dignity. Was nothing like the trophy halls, where Cathrax displayed their victims as human guard. A young male named Johnson brought Krazoth his daily meal. "How are you today?" Johnson asked in accented Cathrax language. Still found this bizarre guards, who asked about prisoner welfare, who learned prisoner languages, who treated defeated enemies as if they still possessed worth. "I do not understand your species." Krazoth admitted, "We came to hunt you. We killed thousands of your people, yet you treat us with mercy." Johnson set down the meal tray. "You want to know why we did not exterminate your species after defeating you?" Where Krazoth nodded, "Because we are not you." Johnson said simply, "We are not hunters seeking trophies. We are defenders protecting our home once the threat ended." "So did our need for violence?" He turned to leave, then paused. "Besides, killing you all would make us just like you and humans. Refuse to become the monsters we fight." The Galactic Council had convened an emergency session once again, but this time the mood was very different from 2 years ago. Human delegates sat in seats hastily constructed to accommodate their bipedal physiology. Admiral Sarah Chen, now Ambassador Chen, stood at the speaker's podium. "The Terran Republic accepts the Council's invitation to membership," she announced. "We come not as conquerors, but as partners in maintaining galactic peace." Counselor Thraxian, as crystalline form, glowed with relief. "The Council welcomes Terra," she said. "We also offer formal apologies for our failure to intervene when the Cathrax invaded your world." Chen's expression remained neutral. "The Council's apology is noted," she said. "Terra understands the difficult position you faced. The Cathrax were powerful. Resistance seemed futile." She paused, letting her words sink in, however. "We also learned an important lesson. Predators thrive when prey remains divided. That is why Terra proposes the formation of the Terran Accord." A holographic display appeared, showing the proposed alliance structure. Any species threatened by predatory civilizations can call upon the Accord for assistance. Chen explained, "Terra will provide military training, technology sharing, and direct intervention. If needed, we will ensure no other species suffers what we, the Valorians, the Quen, and 16 other civilizations endured." Ambassador Velthar of the Valorian Republic stood. "The Valorian Republic joins the Terran Accord," said, his voice thick with emotion. "We should have had such allies when the Cathrax came for us one by one." Other species added their voices. The Quent, the Torvalda, Mission Tevan, species that had never faced Cathrax aggression, all recognized the value of united defense against predators within hours. 23 species had joined the Accord within weeks. The number grew to 47th. Galaxy was reshaping itself around a simple principle: prey that stood together could not be hunted in Cathrax space. Human peacekeeping forces worked alongside local populations to restore order. The Cathrax homeworld had descended into chaos after the Dominion's collapse. Warlords fought over territory, civilians starved as supply chains broke down. The once mighty hunters had become victims of their own culture of violence. Human ships arrived not with weapons of conquest, but with food, medicine, and engineers. General Marcus Webb, commander of Terran peacekeeping operations, met with Cathrax civilian leaders. "We are here to help," he said, "not to rule, not to punish your entire species for the crimes of your military, but to rebuild." A Cathrax civilian named Threkix, who had lost family to the war, asked the question many wondered: "Why help us after what we did to you?" Webb considered his answer carefully. "Because humans know what it means to rebuild after devastating wars." He said, "We fought to global conflicts. That killed millions. We bombed cities to rubble. We created weapons that could end all life on our world, but we learned that peace is harder than war. But infinitely more valuable, we learned that former enemies can become allies. We learned that cycles of revenge serve no one." He gestured to the Cathrax around him. Your military leadership made the decision to hunt us, but your civilians, your children, your elders, they did not. We will not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty across former Cathrax territory. Human forces worked to dismantle the hunting culture that had defined the species. Trophy halls were converted into memorials. Preserved victims were given proper funerals according to their species. Customs young Cathrax were educated in different values: cooperation instead of predation, building instead of destroying, protecting instead of hunting. It was slow, difficult work. Many Cathrax resisted, but many more, tired of endless war and loss, embraced the change. In one such memorial, built from what had been the greatest Cathrax trophy hall, a dedication ceremony took place. Representatives from all 17 species that had suffered Cathrax hunting attended. Human engineers had transformed the hall into a place of remembrance. Each victim's stasis chamber had been replaced with a monument. Names were inscribed, stories were told, lives were honored. Ambassador Chen stood before the gathering and read from a prepared statement. Here stood those who thought they were the galaxy's hunters. They learned too late that TERRA does not produce prey. We produce survivors. When you hunt us, we hunt back, not for sport, not for glory, but to ensure no one else suffers as we did. She paused, looking at the assembled species. But we also learned something. Revenge is easy, justice is hard, mercy is hardest of all. Today we choose mercy, not because the Cathrax deserve it, but because we do. We deserve to be better than those who hurt us. Velthar the Valorian stood beside her. My people were nearly destroyed by Cathrax hunters. He said, for years I dreamed of their extinction, but humans showed us another way. They showed us that strength is not measured in claws and fangs, but in the courage to extend a hand to fallen enemies. In the archive chamber, aboard the Galactic Council station, Ixtor the Quen archivist worked on a new project. It was compiling the first comprehensive history of humanity's entry into the galactic community. How should I describe your species? He asked Ambassador Chen during an interview. How do you wish to be remembered? Chen smiled. Do not describe us as warriors or conquerors. She said, describe us as survivors who refuse to let survival be enough. We could have hidden after the Cathrax left, built defenses, and isolated ourselves, but we chose to engage with the galaxy. To share what we learned, to protect others as we wished we had been protected. Ixtor made notes. His aged hands steady. The galaxy feared you. Said, after watching you pursue the Cathrax across the stars, many species wondered if you would become the new apex predators. And Chen asked, and you proved them wrong. Ixtor replied, you became something the galaxy has never seen. Predators who choose not to hunt. Warriors who choose peace. Survivors who help others survive. Years passed. The Terran Accord grew to include over 100 species. Not all civilizations joined, some remained suspicious of human intentions, others valued independence over collective security, but the galaxy was undeniably safe. For 3 separate attempts at predatory expansion by various species were stopped by Accord forces, not through conquest or extermination. Through overwhelming defensive response followed by negotiated settlement, the message was clear: hunting sentient species was no longer acceptable, and humans would ensure that message was heard on TERRA. In the rebuilt city of Geneva, a monument stood. It listed the names of every human who died fighting the Cathrax invasion. Over 30,000 names, each one a person who had fought so their species could survive. A Banral Chen, now retired and aging, visited the monument. Annually, young humans often asked her about the war, about what it was like to fight aliens, about why humans chose mercy over revenge. We fought because we had to. She told them we won because we refused to quit, and we showed mercy because we wanted to be better than those who hunted us. Remember this. Strength without mercy is tyranny. Mercy without strength is surrender. Humanity possesses both. That is what makes us different in Cathrax space, now governed by a civilian coalition that had renounced hunting culture. A new generation grew up learning about the war from a different perspective. Young Cathrax studied human history, learned about persistence, hunting, understood why their ancestors' invasion had failed so catastrophically. And young Cathrax, named Crixonel, grandson of the warrior Crixtal, who had been captured in Arizona, wrote a thesis that became required reading. We believed we were apex predators. He wrote, "But we confused apex predation with apex evolution. Humans evolved beyond the need to be predators, thinkers, cooperators, when forced to fight. They applied those evolved traits to warfare, they built better weapons, they thought through our tactics." The war had entered its 9th month when High Huntmaster Krasath realized. The hunt had become a nightmare from which he could not wake. His fleet orbited TERRA in defensive formations. No longer the confident predators who had arrived expecting easy prey below. Human forces controlled their entire planet against Thrax. Ground positions had been systematically destroyed or abandoned and above. In the space between TERRA and its moon, human ships multiplied like a swarm. "How many now?" Krasath demanded. His tactical officer consulted the sensors. 47 human vessels confirmed. Came the reply, another 23 under construction in orbital facilities they had built. "They are manufacturing ships faster than we can destroy them." Krasath's mandibles clicked in agitation. The human ship was inferior to Cathrax's designs. Slower, weaker, more fragile, but humans did not seem to care. They threw their ships into battle with reckless abandon, accepting catastrophic losses to inflict minor damage. Except the losses were no longer catastrophic. Human shipbuilding had improved with terrifying speed 9 months ago. They had no spacecraft worthy of the name. Now they fielded a growing fleet that combined captured Cathrax's technology with human innovation in ways that defied logic. "They do not fight like civilized species," Warpack leader Threshkar observed. He had been evacuated from Terra's surface after his position became untenable. "They use debris as weapons." He continued, "They hide in radiation zones that should kill them, but only make them sick. They ram our ships when their weapons fail." "What kind of warriors are these?" Krasath had no answer, but he was beginning to understand something that filled him with dread. Humans were not warriors. They were survivors, and survivors fought with every tool, every trick, every desperate measure available. The latest battle had demonstrated this perfectly. 3 Cathrax cruisers had engaged a human fleet of 15 ships near Terra's moon. Standard tactical doctrine suggested Cathrax's victory was certain, but the humans had mined the battlefield with thousands of small, explosive devices when Cathrax ships maneuvered to optimal firing positions. The mines detonated not enough to destroy the cruisers, but enough to damage sensors and weapons. Then human ships closed in, targeting the damaged systems with focused fire. 1 Cathrax cruiser was destroyed. Another badly damaged. The third retreated. Human losses: 9 ships destroyed. For damaged, but 6 new human ships had launched before the battle even ended. They accept losses we would consider unacceptable. Velkoth, the science officer, noted a Cathrax commander who lost 9 ships in a single engagement would face execution for incompetence, but humans celebrated his victory because they achieved their objective. They valued the goal more than individual survival. A priority message arrived from Cathrax's high command. Many light years away. Krasath read it with sinking hearts. The message was blunt: achieve victory or withdraw. The Dominion could not afford to keep a fleet tied up in an extended campaign against Primitive's other hunts. Awaited other prey needed to be subdued. We withdraw. Krasath decided, we leave this cursed world and report that the hunt was unsuccessful. We will recommend TERRA be designated as forbidden territory. His second-in-command hesitated. The humans will not let us leave peacefully. He said they have been preparing for this. He was right as Cathrax ships formed up for departure. Human vessels moved to intercept not just the ships in near TERRA space, but others that had been hiding throughout the solar system behind. Moonin, the asteroid belt heaving in the rings of the system's gas giant, humans had been building ships and deploying them in secret. How many? Krasath whispered. Over 100 confirmed. Came the tactical report, possibly more masked by background radiation. The Cathrax fleet numbered 38 warships, still superior in quality. But humans had demonstrated they did not care about quality. They cared about results. The battle for TERRA's orbital space began with human ships attacking from multiple vectors. Simultaneously, Cathrax point defense systems, designed to intercept missiles and fighters, struggled against manned vessels piloted with suicidal determination. A human corvette crashed into a Cathrax destroyer, its fusion core detonating and crippling both ships. Another human ship, heavily damaged and venting atmosphere, used its last moments to ram a Cathrax cruiser's engine, Sexion Krazath watched warrior ships die, each loss more painful than the last break orbit. He ordered full speed to the outer system. We must reach jump distance. The Cathrax fleet accelerated, but human ships pursued not with superior speed, but with relentless determination. They chased 4 hours, then Daskthrax ships were faster. But human vessels kept coming when Cathrax ships turned to fight. Humans accepted brutal losses to inflict damage when Cathrax ships ran. Humans followed. They are like parasites, Threshkar said. Watching the tactical display, we cannot shake them. Krazath understood now why. Svelkoth had called them persistence hunters. This was how humans hunted. They did not overpower their prey. They exhausted it. They followed and followed until their target could run no more than. They closed in for the Kiltha. Cathrax fleet reached jump distance at the edge of Terra's solar system, but human ships had inflicted enough damage that several Cathrax vessels could not safely enter faster than light travel. We must leave them. Krazath decided with great pain. We cannot risk the entire fleet. 15 Cathrax ships, too damaged to jump. Watch the rest of the fleet vanish into faster than light. Human ships closed in the stranded Cathrax warriors prepared to die fighting, but humans did not destroy them. Instead, they disabled the ships and began boarding operations. Received one last transmission from the stranded vessels before his fleet jumped. It was Warpack leader Threshkar. His voice strange and hollow. They are taking us prisoner. Threshkar reported they offer medical care, proper confinement, treatment, according to warfare laws. We did not know they possessed High Huntmaster. These beings are not prey. They never were. We were fools to think otherwise. Then the connection cut as Cathrax fleet entered jump space, but the nightmare did not end with the jump. Human ships followed, crude and slow, using captured Cathrax faster than light drives that barely functioned, but they follow. Wedrezath's fleet detected them emerging from jump space hours behind. Then they jumped again, heading toward Cathrax territory. Human ships followed. This is impossible, Krazath said. They do not have the navigation data. They do not know the route to our space. How are they following us? Velkoth studied the sensor data. They are tracking our jump signatures, he said with something like admiration in his voice. Following the distortions we leave in space-time. They do not need to know where we are going. They just need to know where we have been, like tracking footprints. The pursuit continued across 3 star systems. Krax fleet jumped. Human ships followed. Krax fleet jumped again. Human ships followed on the 5th jump. Krazath ordered the fleet to split up. Some ships went to Cathrax core territory, others scattered to distant colonies. Human ships divided as well, smaller groups pursuing each Cathrax element. Krazath's group, now only 8 ships, jumped, repeatedly trying to shake their pursuers, but always within hours or days. Human ships appeared following the trail, never stopping, never stopping. Giving up intercepted human communications, told the story target fleet ahead by 6 hours, maintain pursuit. Do not lose them. Simple messages determined voices. Humans who had followed Cathrax warriors across light years of space. The Galactic Council received reports of human ships peering throughout known space, pursuing scattered Cathrax vessels. The same council that had refused to protect TERRA now watched in shock as humans took their revenge, not with genocide, not with random destruction, but with focused, relentless pursuit of the hunters who had tried to exterminate. The ambassador Velthor of the Valorian Republic stood before the council once more. They are coming, he said simply. The humans are coming not as conquerors, but as hunters hunting those who hunted them. Counselor Thraxian's crystalline form flickered with uncertain light. What should we do? Stay out of their way. Velthor advised. The humans seek only the Cathrax who invaded their world. Let them have their justice in the archive chamber. The Extor, the Quinn archivist, watched the reports with tears of joy streaming down his aged face. His warning had arrived. Too late to prevent the invasion, but humans had not needed the warning. They had needed only themselves, their stubbornness, their refusal to be prey, their willingness to follow enemies across the stars themselves. Thank you, Ixtor whispered toward distant TERRA. Thank you for showing the galaxy that predators can become prey. Krazest fleet finally reached the edge of Cathrax space. Their homeworld lay ahead. Safety awaited, but even now, human ships followed smaller. Now only 5 vessels, but they came Krazeth, opened a channel to the lead human ship. Human female appeared on the screen. Wearing a military uniform, I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Fleet. She said in perfect Cathrax language, "Hi, Huntmaster Krazath. You came to our world to hunt us. You killed our people. You displayed us as trophies you thought we were." Pray, Krazath said nothing. What could he say? Now you understand what it means to be hunted by humans. Chen continued. We have followed you across stars. We will follow you across galaxies if necessary because humans do not forget. And we do not forgive those who hunt our children. She leaned forward. Her eyes hard as diamonds run. Hi, Huntmaster, run to your homeworld, air afraid. 6 months had passed since the Cathrax first descended upon TERRA. And High Huntmaster Krazath could no longer deny the truth that his warriors whispered among themselves. Hunt had gone terribly. Impossibly wrong, the Cathrax held a dozen fortified positions across TERRA's surface. But they could not expand beyond them. Every attempt to push into human territory met with fierce resistance. Every patrol that ventured too far from base camp simply disappeared. Worse still. Human attacks on Cathrax positions had become increasingly sophisticated, they are learning. Warpack leader Threshkar reported from the Amazon position. They study our patrol patterns. Our response times. Our tactics, then, they exploit every weakness. Krazath watched surveillance footage of the latest human assault. Small teams infiltrated under cover of darkness. They used captured Cathrax weapons. Alongside their own, they struck command nodes, supply depots, communication arrays. Then they vanished before reinforcements could arrive. How can prey learn so quickly? Krazath demanded they should be scattered and broken by now. His science officer, a Cathrax named Velkoth, had been studying captured human data. High Huntmaster. I believe I understand, Velkoth said carefully. These humans. They evolved as hunters themselves. Krazath's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Impossible. They have no claws, no fangs, no armor. How could such weak creatures hunt anything? Velkoth displayed human evolutionary history on the command screen, not ambush predators like us. He explained persistence hunters, their ancestors hunted prey across vast distances, following for days until the target collapsed from exhaustion. They have extraordinary endurance. They can regulate body temperature through sweating, allowing continuous exertion in heat that would kill us. They can track, adapt, and learn faster than any species we have encountered. Krazath stared at the screen showing primitive humans chasing animals across African plains. This is ancient history, he said. They are civilized now. Soft and weak are they? Velkoth asked. Our warriors are exhausted. High Huntmaster, we are built for short, explosive hunts hours at most, but these humans, they maintain operations for days. Weeks without rest, they rotate their forces, while we fatigue. They are doing to us what their ancestors did to thee. Megafauna of their world, they are running us down. Report came in from the Siberian position. Another patrol lost 20 warriors who had pursued human raiders into the frozen wilderness. They had been found 3 days later, scattered across 50 kilometers, picked off one by humans who seemed immune to the cold that slowed Cathrax metabolism. Warpack leader Kriksmal, who had commanded the Siberian position, sent a personal log that Krazath read with growing unease. We are the hunters. Kriksmal had written, we are supposed to be the hunters, but here, in this frozen hell, I feel like prey. The humans do not stop. We sleep, and they attack. We wake exhausted. And they are still fresh. They track us through snow and ice. They know our positions before we know theirs. Yesterday, one of my warriors panicked and fled into the wilderness alone. We found him this morning. The humans had followed him for 2 days. They left his body as a message. They want us to know they can hunt us whenever they choose. I am afraid. I admit it. I am afraid of these soft-skinned persistence predators who never stopped coming. Krazath deleted the log. Such defeatist thoughts could not be allowed to spread, but he could not delete the truth cracks. Morale was collapsing in the Amazon. Threshkar led his warriors through the jungle, pursuing a human squad that had destroyed their supply depot they had been chasing for 8 hours. The humans stayed just ahead, Leaving signs of their passage taunting the Cathrax, two follow Threshkar's warriors were exhausted their forelegs. So powerful in short bursts. Ached with prolonged exertion, the heat and humidity drained them, but pride and rage pushed them forward. We will catch them. Threshkar promised we will make them pay for every Cathrax. Life they have taken the humans led them deeper into the jungle then. The trail went cold. Threshkar ordered his warriors to spread out and search. That was when the humans struck not from ahead from behind. They had circled back somehow. Moving through terrain, the Cathrax had thought impassably explosives. Detonated small arms fire erupted from concealed positions. Crack's warriors fell. Confused and disoriented, tried to organize a defense, but his warriors were too spread out. Too exhausted, the humans melted back into the jungle. Threshkar counted his losses, 15 warriors dead or wounded. Damned. The humans were gone, he could pursue. But his remaining forces were near collapse for the first time in his life. Threshkar understood what it meant to be prey across TERRA. Human forces pressed their advantage. They had learned to fight the Cathrax in ways that negated every natural advantage the aliens possessed. They struck during the day when heat slowed Cathrax metabolism in cold regions. They attacked during frozen nights in jungles. They used the terrain to separate and isolate Cathrax warriors in mountains. They forced the Cathrax to fight at altitudes where the thinner atmosphere affected their breathing, and everywhere, always. They never stopped. Human forces rotated, constantly fresh. Troops replaced exhausted ones, but Cathrax warriors had no rotation. They fought until they collapsed. And then they fought some more. General Sarah Chen watched tactical displays showing the Cathrax positions across the globe all were contracting. Pulling back, fortifying. They are breaking, she observed 6 months ago. They thought they were hunting us. Now they realize we have been hunting them all along. Her staff officers nodded. Intelligence reports indicate severe morale problems among Cathrax forces. One reported they are exhausted, undersupplied, and psychologically shaken. Their command structure is intact. But individual warriors are questioning their purpose here. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Our ancestors hunted mammoths across ice ages. She said they hunted prey larger, stronger, and more dangerous than themselves. They won through persistence, intelligence, and refusal to quit. The Cathrax thought we would be easy prey because we look weak. They forgot that humans do not need claws and fangs. We have something better. We have stubbornness, we have adaptability, and we never ever know when to quit in orbit. High Huntmaster Krazath made a decision that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Prepare to withdraw all ground forces. He ordered, we will bombard their cities from orbit if we cannot claim trophies. We will at least punish them for their resistance. But as Cathrax landing ships descended to extract warriors from surface positions, human observation posts tracked every movement, and in hidden facilities, the first human Cathrax hybrid spacecraft prepared for launch. The vessels were crewed by Cathrax standards, cobbled together from captured technology and human engineering, but they could fly. They could find. They were crewed by humans who had spent months studying every piece of Cathrax equipment they could capture. The lead ship, designated Persistence, sat on a launch pad in the Nevada. Desert Commander Michael Torres ran through final checks with his crew. We are about to do something humanity has never done, he said. We are going to take the fight into space. The Cathrax think they can retreat to orbit and bombard us from safety. We are going to teach them that there is no safety from humans, not on land, not in sea, not in air, and not in space. The launch sequence began. Engines powered up. Using Cathrax plasma drives modified to run on human fuel, the ship rose into the sky, accelerating faster than any human-built craft in history behind it. 5 more hybrid ships launched from sites across the planet. They were not elegant, they were not sophisticated, but they flew, and their weapons worked. High Huntmaster Krazath watched in stunned disbelief as human ships appeared on his sensors. Impossible, he whispered. They are primitives. They should not have spacecraft for decades, centuries, but there they were, crude, ugly vessels that nonetheless moved with purpose toward the Cathrax fleet battle stations. Krazath ordered, destroy them. Cathrax warships moved to engage. Confident in their superior technology and firepower, the first human ship died quickly. Overwhelmed by weapons it could not counter but. The second managed to close range and fire captured Carthrax weapons before being destroyed. The third rammed a Carthrax destroyer. Both ships exploding in a flash of unleashed energy. The fourth and fifth survived long enough to damage two more Carthrax vessels before retreating back to Terra's atmosphericras, stared at the tactical displacics, human ships. All destroyed or retreating, but they had damaged three Carthrax warships and destroyed one. They flew ships. They barely understood into combat against superior forces. His second in command said quietly, "They knew they would likely die, and they did it anyway. What kind of species does that?" Krasoth had no answer, but deep in his genetic memory, in instincts older than civilization, something stirred fear. The prey was fighting back, and prey that fought back was dangerous on Terra's surface. General Chen received battle reports from the space engagement. Heavy losses, but valuable data gathered. Launch the next wave, she ordered, and the wave after that, and keep launching until they understand. We are not prey, we are hunters, and we are hunting them. The Carthrax fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Terra's solar system, their sensors immediately scanning the primitive world. Ahead, High Huntmaster Krasoth studied the tactical display with satisfaction. Radio transmissions filled the electromagnetic spectrum. Chaotic and unencrypted satellites orbited the planet in haphazard clusters. Primitive spacecraft, occasionally launched with chemical rockets. They do not even know we are here. Krasoth observed. Begins standard hunting protocol. Deploys stealth probes for final reconnaissance. Then establish orbital supremacy. The Carthrax had perfected this procedure across 17 conquered systems. Study the pre-identify the strongest specimens. Hunting parties in diverse environments allow the prey to scatter in. Panic, then pursue at leisure. Savoring the hunt, 6 massive landing ships descended through Terra's atmosphere. Their approach masked by technology far beyond human understanding. The first touched down in the Amazon rainforest, where thermal scans had detected numerous human settlements. The second landed in the Sahara Desert. Others positioned themselves across North America, the Himalayas, the Siberian tundra, and the Australian outback. Warpack leader Threshkar emerged from the Amazon landing site with 40 warriors at his back. The heat and humidity reminded him pleasantly of his homeworld's hunting. "Preserve spread out," he commanded. "Let us see how these humans react to superior predators." His warriors moved through the jungle with practiced ease, their forelegs granting them speed and stability on the uneven terrain ahead. Their sensors detected a human settlement, perhaps 200 individuals, perfect for the opening hunt. But as they approached, Threshkar noticed something unexpected. The humans were not fleeing. Instead, they moved with purpose, taking positions behind trees and earthworks. Some carried primitive projectile weapons, others held items that sensors could not immediately identify. Curious, Threshkar mused. They show aggression rather than fear. This will make the hunt more entertaining before they break. He signaled. The Carthrax warriors surged forward, expecting to scatter the defenders. Within moments, the jungle exploded with sound. Human weapons fired with staccato rhythm, sending metal projectiles at supersonic speeds. Krax's armor could withstand such primitive attacks, but the sheer volume of fire gave the warriors pause. Then, first warrior stepped on something that clicked beneath his weight. The explosion tore through his armored underside. Chitin and flesh sprang across the jungle. More explosions followed as concealed mines detonated traps. Threshkar roared. They set traps. He had never encountered prey that prepared ambushes before his warriors pushed forward despite losses. Closing the distance to engage in close combat were their natural advantages. Would dominate, but the humans fell back in organized groups, maintaining fire discipline, covering each other's retreat, not fleeing in panic, retreating tactically. When the Carthrax finally overran the human positions, they found them empty. The defenders had vanished into the jungle, leaving only more traps and a few wounded warriors who fired until their ammunition ran out. Threshkar stood among his dead and wounded, confused and angry. This should not be happening, he said. Prey does not fight like this. Similar reports came from all 6 landing sites in the Sahara. Carthrax warriors found themselves ambushed by human vehicles that struck from range and retreated before close combat could occur in North America. Human aircraft dropped explosives that Cathrac's anti-air systems struggled to intercept in the Himalayas. Humans used the terrain masterfully, triggering avalanches and rock slides in Siberia. Humans simply vanished into the frozen wilderness, only to reappear hours later to attack supply lines in Australia. Humans employed fire as a weapon, burning vast stretches of outback. To deny the Cathrac's mobility, High Huntmaster Crozath reviewed the reports with growing irritation. They are merely showing initial resistance, he declared. All prey fights when cornered. Deploy additional warpacks. Increase pressure. They will break but 3 weeks into the invasion. The Cathrac's had suffered over 200 casualties. Humans had lost thousands. But their resistance had not weakened it, had intensified. A Cathrac's warrior named Crystal found himself pursued through a canyon system in what humans called Arizona. He had separated from his hunting party to track what appeared to be a fleeing human. Now, as he ran, he realized the human had led him into a trap. Explosives detonated behind him, sealing his escape route ahead. A dozen humans appeared, weapons trained on his position, but they did not fire. Instead, one human spoke in badly accented Cathrac's language. Surrender and you will be treated according to warfare conventions. Crystal laughed, the sound clicking through his mandibles. I am Cathrac's, he said. We do not surrender to prey, he charged, expecting to at least take several humans with him before falling. The humans scattered with frustrating speed, and something struck his legs, not bullets, some kind of netting that tangled his limbs and sent him crashing to the ground. The last thing Crystal saw before darkness claimed him was humans approaching with strange devices, not weapons, medical equipment. They were taking him alive for study across the globe. Human military forces mobilized with unprecedented coordination. Nations that had been enemies for decades suddenly shared. Intelligent scientists worked alongside soldiers. Engineers studied every piece of Cathrac's technology that could be recovered from battle sites. Say human general named Sarah Chen stood in a command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, studying tactical displays. They are stronger than us, she said to her assembled staff, faster than us, better armed and armored. But they fight like nothing I have ever seen. What do you mean, General? An aide asked. Chen pulled up footage from multiple battle sites. Watch how they move. She said they charge directly at defensive positions. They rely on their natural advantages. Strength, speed, armor. They do not adapt their tactics when those advantages prove insufficient. They fight like predators who have never encountered prey that fights back, so we make them hunt us. Another officer said we use guerrilla tactics. Ambushes, asymmetric warfare. We make them chase us into our traps. Chen nodded. More than that, she said, we study them. Every battle teaches us their weaknesses. Every piece of technology we capture brings us closer to understanding them. We fought 2 world wars and countless other conflicts. We know how to fight. They know how to hunt. There is a difference in orbit. High Huntmaster Crozath grew increasingly frustrated as weeks became months. Strax casualties mounted into the thousands. Humans remained unbroken. Worse, they had begun counterattacking. Human forces had assaulted and destroyed one of the landing sites in the Australian outback. They had captured Cathrac's warriors and equipment. They had even managed to shoot down several Cathrac's atmospheric craft using modified human missiles. This is unacceptable, Crozath snarled. We are Cathrac's. We are apex predators. These soft-skinned primitives should be fleeing in terror. His second-in-command hesitated before speaking. Perhaps we underestimated them. High Huntmaster, their technology may be primitive, but their tactics are sophisticated. They fight as if they have faced predators before. Crozath's mandibles snapped shut with audible force. Then, we increase pressure, he decided. Deploy all remaining ground forces. If they will not scatter, we will crush them through sheer numbers. But as more Cathrac's warriors descended to Terra's surface, a new development emerged that would change everything. Deep in a bunker in Switzerland, a team of human scientists and engineers worked frantically over a captured Cathrac shuttle. They had studied it for months, examined Every system tested every component. We think we understand the basics of their propulsion. The lead scientists announced their faster-than-light drive is beyond us for now. But their sublight engines, navigation systems, weapons, we can replicate them. We can build our own general. Chen received the report with grim satisfaction. How long until we can field hybrid craft? She asked. 6 months for a prototype? Came the answer. Another 6 months for production models. Chen shook her head. We do not have that long cut. Every corner you can use human components where possible. I need something that can fly and fight in space within 3 months. The Cathrax think they can retreat to orbit when ground? Operations become inconvenient. We are going to prove them wrong. Hi. Huntmaster Krazath stood on his command deck, reviewing casualty reports that now numbered over 5,000. Cathrax warriors lost 5,000 against primitive prey against beings who should have been nothing more than trophies. Recall all ground forces. He ordered. We will bombard their cities from orbit until they surrender. This hunt has gone on long enough. But as Cathrax landing ships lifted off from Terra's surface, human observation posts tracked their ascent, their trajectories calculated, their orbital positions, and deep in hidden facilities across the planet. Engineers worked through the night on craft that merged human ingenuity with captured alien technology. The hunt was about to change. The prey was learning to bite back in soon. Very soon, they would learn to fly. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never felt so small, so suffocating. Despite its massive size that could hold thousands of representatives from across the stars, Ambassador Velthor of the Valorian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, his three-fingered hands trembling as he gripped the speaker's podium with desperate strength. They came to our world without warning, Velthor said, his voice breaking with emotion that transcended species barriers. The Cathrax descended from the sky in ships that blotted out our suns. The holographic display behind him flickered to life, showing images that made even the most hardened council members look away. Valorian cities reduced to ash forests, stripped bare bodies, displayed like trophies. They did not want our resources. Velthar continued. They did not seek to enslave us for labor. They hunted us for sport, for pleasure. For the simple reason that they could, the hologram shifted to show the Cathrax themselves, towering beings of chitin and sinew, standing 3 meters tall on 4 powerful legs. Their upper bodies rose like nightmarish centaurs, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Compound eyes glittered with cold intelligence above mandibles that could snap. Steel-high Huntmaster Krazoth of the Cathrax Dominion sat in his designated seat, utterly unmoved by the display as translator Caller rendered his clicking speech into smooth galactic common. We are predators. Krazath said simply, this is the natural order of the universe. The strong hunt the weak, the swift devour the slow. Your species had the misfortune of being discovered by hunters superior in every way. Velthor's grief transformed into rage. Superior? You needed advanced weapons to hunt beings who had barely discovered electricity. You hunted children? You displayed our elders in stasis chambers like insects in resin. Krazath rose from his seat, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber floor. And yet you stand here, Ambassador. Because we allowed survivors, every hunt must have witnesses to spread word of the hunters. Prowess 17 systems have fallen to the Cathrax Dominion, Counselor Thraxian announced, her crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. 17 sentient species have been reduced to scattered remnants or total extinction. The council must act. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegate sphere, hung in the air like acrid smoke. The Cathrax had the most powerful military fleet in known space. Their warriors were bred for combat from hatching. Their ships carried weapons that could crack planets. Act. Krazath's mandibles clicked in what his species considered amusement. The council will observe. As always, you lack the courage to oppose us, and we both know why it was true. And the silence that followed confirmed it. The last species that had tried to resist the Cathrax military intervention now existed only in the Dominion's trophy halls. However, Elsath continued, I come today not to threaten, but to announce our next great hunt. The holographic display changed at his command. showing a star system on the outer arm of the galaxy, a yellow sun, 8 planets, the third one glowing blue and green with life. Our scouts discovered this world 3 cycles ago. Krazath explained the dominant species calls their planet TERRA in one of their many primitive languages. They are bipedal. Lacking natural weapons or armor, they have not achieved faster than light travel. They war amongst themselves with crude chemical explosives, in short. Perfect prey. The display zoomed in, showing images captured by Cathrax stealth probes humans going about their daily lives. Completely unaware they had been discovered by something terrible, cities sprawling across continents, vehicles crawling along roads or craft moving through skies. We estimate a population of 7 billion. Krazath said with evident satisfaction spread. Across multiple continents and climates, this will be the greatest hunt in Cathrax history, a hunt that will be studied and celebrated for generations. Velthor felt his heart sink. You cannot. He whispered. We can, Krazath replied. We will, and none of you will stop us, counselor. Thraxian called for a vote, all in favor of military intervention to protect the Terran species. Belthar raised his hand. 3 other delegates joined him. Out of 200 present, the measure fails, Thraxian announced, her voice heavy with shame. The council will not intervene. Krazath's mandibles clicked rapidly now. A Cathrax expression of triumph. Wise decision, said. My hunting fleet departs within the rotation. We shall return with trophies worthy of legends. The session ended, and delegates filed out in uncomfortable silence. Many refused to meet Velthar's accusing gaze in a small archive chamber deep within the council station. An elderly archivist named Ixahor watched the proceedings on a delayed feed. His species, the Quen, had once numbered in the billions. Now fewer than 10,000 survived. Scattered across refugee stations, the Cathrax had hunted his people too near extinction. 2 decades. Aguathos' fingers moved across his console with practiced speed. He pulled up every scrap of data the Cathrax scouts had gathered on TERRA population centers, military capabilities, communication frequencies, everything. What he planned was illegal sharing. Council intelligence with non-member species could result in imprisonment or worse, but Ixtor had watched too many species fall, had cataloged too many extinctions, had filed too many final reports. His hands trembled as he compiled the data into a compressed transmission, a warning everything the Terrans would need to know about what was coming for them. He aimed the transmission toward TERRA's star system and hesitated for only a moment before sending it, though. Message would take months to arrive. Traveling at sublight speeds to avoid detection by then, the Cathrax hunting fleet would likely already be there, but Ixtor had to try. He had to give these soft-skinned Terrans some chance. However, small as the transmission departed into the vast dark between stars, Ixtor whispered a prayer in his ancient language. Forgive me if this brings you only foreknowledge of doom, he said, but perhaps, somehow, you will surprise us all in the council chamber's upper observation deck. Velthor stood alone, staring out at the stars. He knew which direction the Cathrax fleet would travel, knew that in a few months another species would face the same horror. His people had endured. Run, he whispered toward distant TERRA. Hide, fight if you must, but know that they will not stop until you are trophies. In their halls or scattered like dust across your world. The stars offered no answer. They never did. The Cathrax hunting fleet numbered 50 ships, each carrying hundreds of warriors eager for the sport to come. Huntmaster Krazath stood on his flagship's command deck, reviewing the scouting reports. Once more, soft skin that could be pierced, easily. No natural weapons, primitive technology divided into competing factions. They will scatter when we arrive, his second-in-command observed. Like all prey, they will run and we will chase, Krazath replied, and we will catch, and we will claim our trophies. The fleet engaged their faster-than-light drive space folded around them. TERRA awaited. Blue and green and utterly unaware, the hunt was beginning.